Welcome to Three Dads Over Coffee, where the conversations are unscripted, irreverent, quite possibly irrelevant, and always illuminating. All right, we wanted to welcome you to the Dads Over Coffee podcast because we're going to our third sidekick here has already completely fucked up the way we're going to do this, and he's late. So I thought we would record while Scott Toole actually figures out how to join the podcast, and then maybe we would bust his chops a little bit when he gets on here, so we can keep it real, right, Johnny C?
Yes, sir. Maybe we get some little tech support in this thing,
get some tech support, yeah, for sure. So once Scott gets on, we will start chatting and talk about what our ideas are for this podcast, which are ambiguous and fluid, I will say.
I like that. Keep it conversational, and whatever topic kind of comes up that we want to navigate. Be good.
Oh, so just so you know, we're recording already. So when we bust your balls for being late, we're live.
All right, I've still got a couple of technical issues to figure out here. So
testicle issues?
Yes, that's exactly what I said. We're jumping right into the deep end.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. God, I had a different link.
No, it was in the thread that we the three of us were having.
Oh, don't give me this thread nonsense.
Don't bring your logic here.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, before we get started, I figure I should introduce my two friends to one another because I don't think you guys ever met. So, Scotty T, this is Johnny C.
What's going on, brother? Yeah, man, it's all good. Yeah, it's good to see you. We were on a call together.
Yeah, I recognize the name. I can't actually remember the call that we were on, but yeah, it's good to actually have the opportunity to connect and obviously chat a little bit more.
Yeah, baby. It is. I look like I'm bald on this video. I know this is a podcast, but
aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Well, your mic setup is making your voice sound smooth as silk.
Oh. In fact, I was practicing. That's why I was late on the call. I was practicing my intro, and so you blew it. I had all kinds of hey-yo, practicing my inflection. Kind of doesn't matter. I need a catchphrase.
Those sounds you just made this is our first podcast rule. Okay. No more of those. We're already creating bureaucracy to try to keep you contained. Don't fucking let us do it.
All right.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't do that.
Don't do that. How about hey? I got lots of these. We can fill up an hour.
And since we don't have an audience, we can't get anybody to vote on it or anything.
Right.
For now.
Who's going after an audience?
That's right. So should we introduce ourselves and then maybe talk about what we were trying to accomplish with the podcast?
I don't know. I kind of think maybe not.
Okay.
Why start at the beginning?
All right. What's a controversial topic you want to talk about today, Scott?
Oh, I don't know. Controversy. Is that what we're going for?
I think we're going for wherever we go. It doesn't have to be controversial. I had a fucking almost a meltdown last night because of quarantine. Oh my God. I had it last night. Holy shit.
Definitely got to hear about this.
Well, I think what the issue is for me is that, part of me is being I'm sure this will come up many times in our conversations, but I'm basically a stark raving libertarian. And so when I look at the way that this has been handled and I look at the destruction that this is causing, I just can't help but feel, and looking around at other places in the world and how they're having so much more of a sane, non-economy destroying approach to it. Like I'm not questioning that COVID is a serious thing or anything. I'm not at all, but holy Christ, the way we're going about this cannot possibly be the best way. We're making decisions based on crazy models like that have been proven to be false and the whole bit. So I think last night I was just feeling like cooped up. I was going to take my kids to the beach and my wife to Port Stanley there, John. And my wife said, Tanya was telling me that their cops are fucking fining people like $800 if you're walking around the beach. And I was like, oh my God. So I think it was I've been okay for most of the time, but last night it was like, oh my God, it was getting to me.
So you'd be one. So if you were in the U.S., you'd be one of those people in Michigan carrying guns around, going up to the Capitol building. Is that what you're telling me?
It could be. It could be. I don't really have that sort of, those generations of American DNA in me. So I can't say what I would be doing, but I would probably be more like wanting to do it, but just too scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hear
How you handle it, John?
Yeah, like I've definitely felt the effects of it. So I like just purely on a personal level, like I'm super extroverted. So my inability to connect with people, including you, and even just the people like the regular work routines of going into the office, that being disrupted. I've actually noticed more over the last week and a half that like there's been some days where I've just been like fucking irritable. Like, and my wife is just like, what is happening? Like, you're normally steady Eddie, and not that I've been like throwing shit or anything like that, but I've just been. She could tell I just been in a mood. So that for me has been challenging, but I've just been looking to get creative as far as things I can do. So grab my mountain bike and hit the trails, and get a little bit of exercise is helpful. But interesting though that you bring up the approach of like, I guess you're saying kind of more of the government approach to this whole thing, because I actually don't know if I see it the same way. Like, obviously it's been massively disruptive, but I don't know if they could. It seems to me, based on the information that we've been provided, that the approach that they've taken to kind of keep people in, and obviously the areas that are generally populated, less populated, that's helped to kind of, as they say, flatten the curve, or keep the number of folks that get infected down. So while it obviously has massive economic effects, I don't know if there's any way to really avoid that without the cost of a significant number of people getting infected and or dying. I don't know. I kind of, and again, you just don't know based on the information that you've been provided, because you're told what you're told and you have to assume that it's true. But yeah.
This is our first controversy on the show. We're going fucking hard at it here.
I feel tensions.
Scott, jump in.
Oh, that was way too diplomatic, John. I think you should have jumped all over him.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how I feel about it. That's why, like, I'm like, I don't know.
Sure. No, I go back and forth, completely back and forth. I swing from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
It's just I doubt myself. I mean, I think there was I found myself getting into a lot more Facebook disagreements, which is a complete waste of time.
Oh yeah.
What a massive I will never get that time back. But it's like I can't hang out with friends. I mean, I have conversations with people on the phone, but it's usually people that already agree with me, right? I mean, I surround myself with my own choir. And so I'm looking for fights on Facebook, and it's just it's just ridiculous how, I mean, I come out of a conversation absolutely, or a back and forth on Facebook, convinced that I'm right. And then the next day I hear something else that makes me feel like a complete idiot, because I find out something else that just disproves what I thought the day before. And it's just like, I don't know what the hell. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't think any of us know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think anybody really does. I think that there's a big learning to this, and it's not just us, although that's part of it. But I mean, even the medical experts, kind of for each government, they're all figuring it out. It's kind of a day by day thing. Everybody knew that this was going to happen, i.e.,
except the governor of Georgia, which is where I live.
Oh, well, that's probably making you feel nice and comfy cozy. But yeah, I mean, the idea of it happening being a pandemic. I mean, that the I don't know if it's a docuseries or whatever on Netflix, but it was released like just 6 months before this thing hit.
Right.
So it was like the case of it's when, not if.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know. There's a large educational component to it, and we're figuring it out. And when the next one hits, I'm sure we'll react differently.
Oh yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Let's not think about that part yet.
Yeah, and
Hey, you
Jason's
may,
wrong.
while you were talking,
Right.
Scott, you made me think about Facebook, and one thing that's really, I think, helps me understand more than anything else how much I have changed as a person is fucking Facebook memories, man. My Facebook memories will come up, and I will see the shit that I used to post on Facebook, and I was like, oh my god, like just all this political crap, and just basically just being a shrill mouthpiece, and I was like, and I thought that was an effective way to sway people to my point of view. And I look back at it now and I'm like, I mean, I was still drinking back then. I'm thinking half of these things must have been sent when I was fucking half in the bag or worse, but holy moly, man, it's nice to see the evolution over years that I've gotten away from doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is just, but if you look at people, because I was curious about this with a friend of mine in particular who just posts all kinds of stuff. He's a big liberal and he just posts all kinds of stuff, anti-Trump and all this kind of stuff, which is fine. I don't necessarily disagree with him, but I'm just like, the people who do that, look at how many friends they have on Facebook. It's not that many.
Yeah.
It's just because all they put out there is just opinion. It's all these hardcore beliefs and opinions. And it's usually a turnoff. Except for the people who are trolls or the people who already agree with them. So they're not having any impact at all. And yeah, it's just such a waste of time. You know what? And then I've told you this, Jason, on some of the other calls we've been on. I'm loving this time. I am. I'm completely. So I'm not married. I have no partner to just completely aggravate the crap out of me. So, and
That's
I'm,
unfortunate.
and I am, yeah, I'm so thankful for that. Oh my God. I mean, there have been times when I've desperately wanted to date, and this is not one of them. I'm just so thankful that I'm not in that shit show right now. So,
Yeah.
but my kids are just like, what the hell is this fun dad thing going on? I mean, it's like, I'm using every moment, not literally, but I am just constantly looking for things to do with the kids. Let's build something. Let's do that. And I'm like, because usually we're scrambling around. I got a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old. We're all going different directions. And that's just not the case right now. They're at home, day after day. And we've got loads of time to get into stuff that we almost never have time to get into. And so I'm loving that part of it. But, my situation is a little bit different. But hey, let's not get into telling our stories. Let's keep it nice and vague. You want to figure out who Scott is? You got to tune in again.
Yeah, that's right. We don't want to just drop our drawers.
Let's do that. That makes for good radio.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. Yeah, I think, we found the same thing, right? My kids I think the way you put it is really interesting is, my kids are 16 and 15, and it does become, you do as a parent get a sense that we're moving basically in the same direction, but there's drift, right? I mean, it's just, they get their own shit going on and they got their own interests. And I agree. We originally, when this whole thing started, we were like, oh my God, what is this going to be like? Because, there's some, like you guys both know, there's some tension between my older daughter and my wife, and but it's completely turned around. It's crazy. She's recognized. I think Tanya's recognized that in order for her to maintain, I don't want to say her own sanity, but to maintain some sort of equanimity, maybe she was going to have to let some things go. And I think maybe the kids have realized that too, or something. But I doubt the kids have realized that. But I think they're responding to her, and it's just been the relationship has really changed. And I really credit this time and the slowness and the boredom and the space that has allowed that to happen. So I agree with you, Scott. I mean, we've been very, very fortunate in the sense that we haven't really been affected either, health wise or financially or anything like that. So for us, it's, for the most part, other than driving me mental occasionally, but for the most part, it's been a huge blessing. What are you seeing, John?
Yeah, it's been. I echo your sentiment, Jason. Where for my guys, yeah, I recognize, and I shared this actually on a call over the last couple of weeks that our experience, my significant others in mind, is very different than what our boys is, and I mean that sounds so logical, but when you're kind of going through this, you don't necessarily consciously call attention to it. So I remember just thinking like, man, okay, like this is, my older son, he's kind of getting at that stage where it's kind of just in the upward trajectory of being highly socially interactive with his friends and stuff. And now he's lost that opportunity to do it in the physical world. He can do it, on calls and stuff. So I just, I remember sitting him down and just saying like, I, you just need to know that I get the fact that you're missing that opportunity, and how you've been handling it has just been awesome. And I'm proud of you. And I just remember the look on his face, oh fuck man, like there's just I appreciate the fact that you acknowledge that, and it's just been awesome. And then I decided, it was a bit of a shit week at work, and then I was just like, you know what, I'm going to take Monday off. And I said to my wife, like, she works from home, and I just said to my wife, you know what, I'm going to take Monday off, and I'm going to spend the time with the boys. She's like, what are you going to do? And I said, I have no idea, but I'll turn it over to them. I'll say, guys, I'm going to take the day off because I want to spend it with you. And they kind of quipped, like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, you know what, whatever we want to do. So we obviously know the confines of what we're allowed to do and what we're not, but you guys design the day. And they're like, well, I was like, well, we could go for a hike, we could go, throw the ball around, we could whatever. And to Scott's point, that's something that I wouldn't normally do, or we wouldn't normally do, because we don't necessarily have that time, because we got the pressures of work, or activities for the kids or whatever, just shit around the house. And now it's kind of like that that burden of everyday life has been lifted, that is a massive silver lining, because it now reveals all these moments now where, if you're paying attention, you can actually have a much deeper connection with, whether it's your kids or your significant other, or even just friends. Like, I've been able to go on calls when I wouldn't normally be able to do that, because I would be at the office, be jumping from one meeting to the next. Now I'm like, you know what? I want to be on that call. So I just kind of block off that time, and I still get my job done, but I can get on team calls. And it's just been awesome. So
So, question for both of you guys: what do you see realistically when this sort of we come out of this thing and life starts to return back to normal? What of the changes that have happened in your life as a result of the quarantine, which ones do you think you will keep, like realistically speaking?
Yeah, I think we were talking about this. I was talking about this, I think, on some call recently.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of the things that I definitely want to do is to build in to a weekly routine, it's got to be some kind of like family dinner. I have I don't know how long it's going to take to get back to what was normal, but I think we will get back there, where the kids are all scattered.
Mhm.
My 15-year-old is now just starting to learn how to drive, and before I know it, he'll be off doing his own thing. And then my younger one will be off on her own. She'll be doing the teenager thing. So, it's just going to get harder and harder to, I think, keep people under the same roof for a stretch of time. And I'm just going to have to, not have to, I'm hoping that they'll enjoy this, and it will be easy to put this into the schedule. But I am going to have to make it, everybody knows what Thursday night is, or something like that, right? That's family dinner. That's when we all come home, and we're going to all make dinner together, and we're going to eat dinner together. And that's the thing. And if we need to reschedule it from Thursday to Sunday because there's a conflict on Thursday, so be it. But we got to do it once a week.
Hey,
that's the kind of thing that I would like to see continue.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And one piece of advice I would give you, and you probably already know this, but
I probably don't.
Have no expectations about how it fucking goes when you have dinner with them, right? Because there's sometimes it's nice and interactive, and there'll be other times where they're going to be teenagers, right? They're going to be, and you'll be sitting there and you'll be like, you fucking ungrateful little shit. I just worked for this food, bought this food, cooked this food, set the goddamn table,
Sure.
you know? And so I've gotten super good at just being whatever, man. We're sitting at the table. That's actually what matters.
No, I've already got a bunch of expectations for it. So mission failed already.
Yeah. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to hold hands and sing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but I mean, now that we're doing that regularly, I see that there are some nights where the kids, honestly, it was yesterday, they were arguing with each other so much. I literally said during their argument, I said, shut the F up. I just said, I said, shut up, be quiet. I mean, I actually told them to shut up. Usually I just said, please be quiet if you don't have something nice to say.
Wow.
I was just like, I don't want to hear your voice anymore. So I
Yeah.
know that there's definitely going to be some of those experiences in the population, right?
Mhm.
But I'm hoping, but that's because they're spending all this time with each other. I mean, they're sick of each other too, and they're still getting along for the most part. It's just these stupid squabbles. But, you know, when it becomes a little bit less common, and maybe if it's only a weekly thing, I'm hoping that they learn to that they really do find this time enjoyable. You know, for like, here's, not to keep this speech going, well, let's keep this speech going. There's one of the things, and I bought it because it's a game you can buy. It's called Table Topics. I don't know if you guys heard of it. It's just a box of cards with just little questions on it, open-ended questions that you ask, and some of them are more family oriented. You can have them, some are more topical, like current events, some of them are more like science related. This is the family version. And it's just kind of like, you know, if you could choose to spend the evening with anyone, who would it be? So just stuff like, it's just to get the conversation
Yeah.
going. I thought it was kind of corny, and I was like, well, let's do it. I bought it. They love it. They love it.
Yeah.
They say they hate it, but now when I pull it out, there's like, no, it's my turn to pick the card. And it's just like, they love to do it. And so I'm like, it's that kind of thing, but you can't do that every time. It has to be only occasional, but that kind of connection it's super critical. It's great, but you're right. It'll blow up sometimes, and it'll be unpleasant, but it's those other ones. It's the 1 out of 5 that are great, that'll totally make it worth it.
Yeah, for sure. How about you, Johnny? What do you see keeping?
I would say, you know, and I did actually also share this through one of the calls recently, but I would say I want to maintain my appreciation for just, I guess the respect of the fact that my sons have, you know, their own lives, which of course I've known, but they're on their own path. And you know that's become more evident with our oldest because he's just kind of I'll peel back one piece of the onion here. He's 13. So, you know,
Big
he's,
reveal.
yeah, the big reveal and more next time. Um, but, you know, it's just been unreal, you know, and part of it has been through this whole experience, but part of it is just, I think, his natural maturing, but he is really emerging to be somebody, quite frankly, that is really interesting and inspiring. So uh, I want to keep that connection with my sons individually, as well as, you know, I naturally do it with the two of them. But I want to create space with and for them, just them and I, as well as a family, so that they really feel that opportunity to really just share who they're becoming and kind of how they feel about it. Because and again, to Jason's point earlier, not to have any specific expectations, because sometimes I'll ask and it'll just be, you know, as I was at 13 or 14, kind of like a whatever, like a grunt, and that's all I'm gonna get, and that might be frustrating or irritating because I'm like, for fuck's sakes, I got shit that I would like to do, but I want to make sure that I create the opportunity for you to talk. And they may just choose not to do that, and that's okay too. That's all part of the experience. Um, but you know, fundamentally, I think to wrap it up, it's just to create opportunities for a deeper connection with them and even my wife. I said, you know, once a week, I want to set at least 1 hour aside to talk about something. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, I don't know. I just want unfettered access to just like your mind and what's going on with you and your emotion or not, like just how things are going. And strangely enough, last week that kind of happened, and at a time when we didn't necessarily plan it, but we ended up talking for about 2 hours. And again, it's time we just wouldn't normally have spent, but just a little bit of intention is the seed for like just some amazing connection and intimacy. Um, and I learned a ton about her, and we've been together for a while. So yeah, I really want to create the opportunity to allow these relationships to really blossom, and learn more about these people that I see and live with every day. But sometimes it's kind of like, well, maybe I just don't know as much as I could or want to know. But how about
Cool,
you,
man.
Jason?
I think for us, what has come out of this is we've been talking a lot about our future, and just kind of life we want to create, where we see ourselves being, and one of the things that has been, I would say, a difference between Tanya and I is, and not a significant difference, but I would pick up and move in a heartbeat anywhere, pretty much. Like, I'm not emotionally attached to the community or this particular building we have to live in, where she really is. And to her credit, she has done way more. This is probably very typical for husbands and wives, but she has done way more to integrate herself with our community than I have. Right. Like, so she's got, we have amazing friends here, but most of them are the amazing friends because she initiated it, right? So we were talking, and so let's just like be honest. We're not realistically going to move from here. It's very unlikely. Like, we might come to a place where, like, ideally, if I do the type of work where I could, we could work somewhere warm, and or go somewhere warm in the wintertime or whatever, maybe that would be a thing. But we're realistically at this point, I just don't see us selling this place. She's just really, really, I mean, we both are. We're really happy to be living here. And so what we talked about was, let's, if we accept that and, both buy into that idea, then let's turn this place into a fucking castle, man. Like, not a castle, but I mean, like something beautiful that is. So let's start focusing our time, energy, and money on, building things. So we're building a permaculture garden in the front yard right now, for example. So we just started that last week, and we're going to get some trees. We have these huge dead trees in our backyard. I think our backyard is, I think, like maybe 180 feet deep or something like that. So it's like being in the city, it's fairly long. And so we're going to get some of those trees cut down, and we're going to build some more raised beds in the back, because I mean, one of the things that this has, I think, caused me to shift my thinking is, like, I'm not too into the idea of being like completely fucking dependent on this global supply chain for food.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, if I go to the grocery store and it's closed, I starve. Like, it's basically that fucking simple.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that doesn't feel great to me. So,
I'm seeing a reality show here. Castle dwelling doomsday prepper.
That's right. We're going deep. I mean, we got the bunker, but but I think it's been more like, let's just, accept that this is probably where we're going to be staying for at least the next, significant period of time. Let's really start to turn it into what we really want. And so that has been really, that shift or that alignment, I think, came out of like just having these talks, having more, we always talk a lot, but I think we just have more time to talk. So that's, I think, something that's pretty significant that will alter the trajectory of our lives. And I think for me too, like, I don't know, one thing I see, I don't want to be around my fucking kids all the time, man. Like, I love them.
Yes.
They're great. They're great kids, but like, right. Fuck, man, you're not my best friend here. Like, so I think I have a buddy of mine, and his kids are, how old are they going to be this year? I think 21 and they're 22 and 20 or something like that. and they're still living at home, and they're all like best friends with one another, and whatever works for you, man. And I'm like, I go over there, and I'm like, I want my fucking kids out of the house. Like when they're that, I don't want them sticking around when they're that age, man. I was out when I was like 18, and so I love them, but like I don't want to be around you all the time. So I think that's been an interesting thing too, is just trying to carve out my own. I need my own space at times, and I need to be pretty religious about carving that out. And I don't have any guilt about doing that. So yeah, those are, I think, some changes. But it's the house one, getting more alignment on where we're going, I think has been a really significant one.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, John, you mentioned a word earlier. I wanted to. What is it? Intimacy? What is that? Maybe you could enlighten. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
That's just not,
Is within the context.
It's grasping your hand. It's grasping your hand solidly in this kind of grip.
Yes. Again, great for audio only.
Yeah.
I'm posting a video on YouTube.
No, I'm just kidding. That could be the next episode.
Yeah.
John teaches Scott what intimacy is.
No, that's a great question.
Yeah, they got within,
you're going to make it serious now.
What is intimacy, motherfucker?
As far as how I meant it.
I mean, I pictured you trying to. I pictured you trying to do a leg hump at the end of that 2-hour conversation you had. Like you were owed it.
Right.
Let me get the flip charts out. We need to stitch together the video component of this podcast.
Yeah.
Right. No. Anyway,
I'm actually curious. When do you think of intimacy? What do you think of?
Well, within the context I was talking about, just a deeper understanding of the people I'm talking to. So, yeah, I mean, the time with the boys, just to really understand like this whole experience from their perspective. My son's supposed to graduate grade 8 this year. Like he doesn't have that opportunity to spend time with his friends or to go through that celebration. So I hate to use the term robbed of that experience, because it's a victim mentality, and that's not one that I necessarily subscribe to. But he doesn't have that experience to go through. So how do you feel about that? And that I've asked him that question. It's been met with really haven't given much thought to it, which may or may not be the case. But I just want to know more about them. I want to know more about my wife and the experiences that we've had together, and her growth and things that she remembers and how she remembers. Because that's the other thing, is that we've again with the boys, like we've had experiences where I felt that it was kind of just a vanilla thing, and they've talked to me about like, man, it's like it was the best thing ever, and they've kind of gone back and retold that memory or retold that experience and how impactful it was to them. Like we were eating, a great example is my parents dropped off this like special pasta meal or whatever that we've had before, and yeah, it's really good. And my boys both said, I love this meal. It tastes good, but more than anything, the first time they had it, my mom made it when we were actually going up camping for like a 3 or 4 day long trip. And we cooked it up around the fire, and they just said, yeah, I remember the night that we first had it. It was dark, and wilderness was all around, and you could just smell the clear air, and it was just the three of us, and it was just such an awesome time for us to have together. And I'm like, that for me, to have that insight that you equate that meal with that experience, those memories that we created together, helps me better understand what's important to them. At least for that period of time, and that's gold for me. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a dad, quite frankly, is to create those experiences, and it's great to see that they've resonated with them. So
that's cool, man. Hey, Scott, one thing I'm curious about is, I don't know if we've talked about this or not, but when we thinking about intimacy, one of the things I noticed is that so one more peel back of the onion here for both Scott and myself are both widowers. Do I still get to
That's
call
a
myself
big reveal, man. I think that's like
It was too much?
episode
I just fuck.
10 right there. You just, you gave away the farm.
I'm remarried. Am I still a widower? Does that count? What is that?
I don't know. Ask the Pope. I'm not sure how
I will.
how
I
that
will ask
works.
Pope, and I will have more information next week. But one of the things I noticed was what I didn't realize this at the time, but one of the things that I probably grieved, and our situations were very different. My wife had mental health issues, so I think before she died, I grieved the loss of intimacy without probably realizing it actually. But then I noticed what happened was she passed away, and I was like, you know what? I've been just dealing with this for fucking 5 years. I'm gonna go get myself laid, man. That's what I need. And so I went out and did that, and it just made me feel fucking so much worse because
Mm.
it wasn't the physical act of sex that I was missing; it was intimacy.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in those sort of transactional types of interactions or whatever, I just felt so fucking empty, you know? So I think for me, when I think of intimacy, I think of just someone that knows me as well as or better than I know myself. Is like when I look at my relationship with Tanya right now, it's like the way she can just tell by my facial expression what is going through my mind, even if I haven't actually admitted it to myself yet. You know, she's really in tune that way. So, what's cool about that too is because she knows me, like she'll be able to see things that I haven't been able to like, even maybe that I haven't even realized. Is she'll actually like sometimes proactively give me permission just to fucking be myself. Like, so she'll be like, you seem like this actually happened yesterday. She's like, you seem really restless. Have you exercised today? And I'm like, no, no, I haven't. She's like, put on your fucking rucksack and go for a walk. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, so she just gives me permission to be myself, you know, which is great. So when I think of intimacy, that's probably my take on it.
That's cool.
Yeah. That's, yeah. You know, I'll admit that. So yeah, it's been less time since I lost my wife than yours, a little over 3 years. And even when I dated, which admittedly was way too early, although I learned a lot. So I probably shouldn't have done it, but I'm glad I did it.
Hey Scott, but
Number
before
one,
you
I
go on
got.
there, hey, question:
Yeah,
what do
yeah.
you say when you say you dated way too early? Like, what tells you that that's the case?
Oh, I was definitely doing it out of a place of just loneliness.
Hmm.
I think that's why. And I made some decisions that were just based on trying to fill that hole, which I wasn't being me. I mean, I wasn't being authentic, as we talk about. I was not in touch with my values. And so that it led me to some other people that just don't match me very well, which ended up creating some heartache. Right. But again, I learned that lesson from doing it. So that was important to do it, because if I still had not, if I were in the situation now, almost 3.5 years later, hadn't dated at all, I'd be facing that, not knowing anything. And now I have a couple of cases under my belt where I say, all right, I know at least a couple of things to look for. And I know that I need to kind of just always come back to me. And just kind of present myself as I am, as opposed to I'm trying to sell myself. That comment could kind of take a turn, trying to sell myself.
It did. So I got you sidetracked there. We were talking intimacy.
But it's no. I mean, that's certainly related.
Mhm.
But one of the things in the kind of short-ish relationships that I did get into when I was dating is that it's been a good bit of time since I've been in an intimate relationship. And even the last year or two of my marriage, my wife worked a lot and we really didn't connect very much. So it's been probably 5 years since I would say I've had intimacy. And when I dated, when I was with someone who was much more about connecting in that way, it was way too much for me. It was like going from nothing to a lot immediately. And I just wasn't ready for that. That was one of the big surprises for me, is because I was convinced that was something that I wanted. And when I got it, I didn't think I wanted it anymore. It was just that it was too much.
Mm.
I wasn't quite ready. I need to get used to that. So I'm not dating again. Although, hey, I was actually thinking, I was like, this podcast would be a great opportunity to meet some women. Ridiculous. It's a podcast with dads. What woman's going to listen to this podcast? No, I was kidding when that thought occurred to me. It's like, let's make some money. Let's meet some women.
We could get Culford to I don't know, wear a dress next time.
That's
well,
okay.
I'm not wearing pants, so that'll help. So question for you guys. So for the time that you felt the lack of intimacy, in the context that we're talking about, how do you think that has changed who you are as just as individuals, not even as fathers, for better or for worse?
Like as far as experiencing a lack of intimacy like that?
Yeah.
That's a good question. So, well, I think for me, I mean, one of the things that, like when you think about like loss, losing someone close to you, and you think about the grief that's associated with that. I mean, I think part of that grieving process, like part of the hurt, is like of all the emotions that are wrapped up in this fucking ball of hurt, a lack of intimacy is one of those injuries. Let's say, I'm sure, like if it's and I never really thought about it as something. Well, actually, I've never really thought about it that way until just this very moment. But I think that lack of intimacy, certainly being a cause of the hurt I was feeling, was a cause of me acting out in the ways I acted out, like trying to, drinking and fucking drugs and all that, like trying to numb the hurt. And so I think that there is I think there's this expression that's, and I might fuck it up, but basically the idea is, to truly appreciate the beauty that comes in happiness, you have to have experienced the despair that comes from fucking being in a pretty dark place, right? Because that's how you can compare them. It's almost, they're relative to one another, right? So you've been low, man, does being high ever feel great? And so I think for me, the same thing was same idea applied to a lack of intimacy, which was, I now understand just how I truly appreciate how beautiful it is to have this kind of intimacy. However, I'll say, very similar to Scott, what I'm realizing now is it took me probably 5 fucking years to actually get to the point where with Tanya, where I felt like I was really felt a deep sense of intimacy. I loved her. I had married her. She was my best friend, but it took me a long time and it's hard to describe. Like, I'm not even sure I don't know how that played out in my behavior at all. Like, well, I think one of the ways it played out in my behavior was I had a fucking huge drinking problem and I couldn't ask for help. Right. Like I would be much more apt to do that now. Like if I was struggling with something like that. So, I think it made me appreciate it. It also much more, but it also made me realize how long it takes me. And maybe it is a lifetime journey that never ends. I suspect I will have I'm 47 now. I suspect at 57, I will have a deeper sense of intimacy with Tanya than I do now, because I'll know more about myself and we'll have had more time to grow together and all those things. But so I guess short answer is, it made me appreciate the value of it a lot more and understand how important it was to me as an individual human being. And it made me realize how fucking long it takes me to get to the point of, having a truly deep level of intimacy.
Yeah, it's probably not unique just to you, to be honest, but I would have to imagine it's a very human thing, right? So everybody's got their own journey, and it's not one that's quick. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, as you were talking, I mean, obviously, I'm not with someone, and I guess I would say really during this time, for the most part, I mean, I don't think about it as intimacy at all. We talk a lot in some of our other groups about values, which at first I'm just like, what the hell is that? And I think, Jason, you've said something similar. It was like, first time you go through the core values exercise, it's just like, you know, I mean, I can do it. And yeah, but it really took me a long time. Like I've gone through that probably 5 times now, where I go through the exercise and I'm starting to feel a little more comfortable with who I really am. And I've been focusing on that, not on things like finding a partner, establishing deep connection. I'm really just kind of thinking about, who am I? If I want to even be good for my kids, well, who am I? When am I at my best? Right? I mean, these can be really abstract things when you're just thinking about them.
Yeah.
And instead I'm just doing it. I'm just doing it with my kids. And it's super important to come back and reflect on it later. I think one of our other friends, Jeff, mentioned this on one of our other calls, which was a phenomenal thing for me to hear. And I kind of knew it, but it was great that he put it out there. Is it isn't necessarily the experience you learn that you learn from. It's the reflection on the experience that you learn from, which was huge. I think it's both. I think you need to do both, but it's reflecting upon the things that I've done with my kids that have worked well, and thinking about what those experiences meant to me, and how that really, I think almost every time I've done something that has been connecting with my kids, for example, and I've obviously been focusing on those relationships for me, every time it's been something meaningful, it's because it's been very natural. It's just comes from who I am. It's effortless. It just happens. And I'm like, that's what I want more of. But it's still amazing to me how hard it is to get there. As many times as I've been through those kinds of values exercises, had conversations with other men and other people who are interested in talking about this kind of thing, how many times you have to go through that, and then you have to do it, and you have to reflect on it in order to really get comfortable with who you are. Had I been out dating, searching for intimacy in a one-on-one relationship with a woman, I think that's completely different. Now I'm trying to sell myself. Now I'm trying to make myself appear to be a certain way. That's not natural. That's very unusual. It's not, I just want to be who I am. So, I mean, it's really been, again, great learning experience from actually doing some dating, but no, for the most part, it's just me being who I am and getting comfortable with that first. That is, I will say, for if there are any other people listening to this who are in that situation, going through a divorce, separation, or widowed, that kind of thing, it is it is unsatisfying whenever you hear someone say, "Just take time for yourself." I get it, because fuck, loneliness sucks, man. I'm telling you. That is probably the most powerful part of my grief, has been the loneliness. And it will make you do things you never, ever thought you would do. It will make you consider going and being with someone and doing something that you never thought you would do. It is super powerful. And it is something to be, so you kind of have to be on your game. You kind of have to be more comfortable with yourself. But I get it. It's not satisfying to just because we're talking about a couple of years here, folks, right? This isn't like just take a month and figure yourself out. Oh my God, I was who I was before Ashley died for, what was that, 3 years ago? So I was 46. Oh my God, I was someone else for a long time. And now after 3.5 years, really not even, because I didn't even find you guys for another year after her death. So maybe 2.5 years, I've started to do this, and I'm only where I am now after 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I got so much further to go, which is great. I look forward to that, because every conversation like this is fantastic. It's all revelations after revelations. So really, I guess my short answer is I've just really over practice, trial and error, lots of failure, lots of learning from that, just getting more and more comfortable with who I am and caring less about what other people think about it. So much programming has gone into me. And
Oh, yeah.
living that down, right? Just being who I am. Another reveal. Here we go. I just bought a sports car a couple of months ago.
What'd you get?
And I'm just like, so you can go look at it. It's an i8.
Oh,
BMW.
sweet.
Really?
It's a badass.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
It's used. It's got the butterfly doors and all that.
Yeah.
Ladies.
Damn.
But
Yeah,
I was just like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I need to do this. I need to do
Yeah.
this now. I'm 49.
Yeah.
I mean, in 5 years, I probably won't be able to get in the thing because it's low. You got to kind of like slide into it. And so I'm just like, I got to do this. If I want to do this, I need to do this now.
Yeah,
and it's just
awesome.
like, I don't give a shit. I know people in my neighborhood are looking at like, what? Scott is definitely hitting a midlife crisis a little bit on the late end. But I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I've always had a family car. Always, forever. Just had the 4 or 6 cylinder, haul the kids around. I've always had that. And I was like, I want something that is absolutely for certain not that. And
That's
this is
awesome.
not a family car. And so I'm just like doing it. And I was just like, I feel a little guilty about it. I'll admit. I bought it used. I did not buy it new. But it's just doing things like that I think they just get me a little closer to kind of who I am. I'm the fun guy. I want to go out and have fun. Let's go out and enjoy this. Right.
That's cool, brother. It's interesting you say that because I was talking to Tanya about this the other day, and I was saying I feel like when we're kids, we have total clarity in who we truly are, and we just go about being that, and then we spend our adult lives trying to figure out how the fuck to get back to that.
God, what happens, right?
It's just that weird. Like, it's just, I was saying, if I could just just accept myself for who I am and stop trying to do all these things, I wonder who the fuck I actually am. It's really weird, So I think as you get older, I think that's part of the process is there's more and more things you're just not willing to compromise on. And maybe that manifests itself in you being all set in your ways or whatever, but you're like, you know what? I know what I like. Fuck it. That's what I'm going to be doing, So that's a really interesting point of view. Hey, listen, we've been at this for like an hour already.
Yeah, baby.
It's awesome.
It's a good hour.
Yeah, that was good. I really enjoyed that. So what I was thinking, I was telling John before you got on, Scott, was I think we just call this Dads Over Coffee. If we ever want to bring in somebody for an episode, just a conversation, whatever, I don't want to be constrained by some kind of number, but I was also thinking if you have a cool conversation with somebody that you want to record, like anytime, we could just turn that into a podcast too. Like you could just send me the file. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want there to be any rules about it because I have lots of cool conversations during the week. And sometimes depending on the context, I'll record some of them. And if it's good, I'll just upload it as a podcast.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Cause that can happen anytime, right?
Yeah, for sure. So are we going to make this our standing time? I
think it works for me. Yeah.
Yeah. It works for me. All right, boys. Well, hey, we got one in the bag here and feeling good. I'm feeling good. So we will,
awesome. What's our catchphrase? What's our sign off?
What's our sign off? Our sign
Not
off.
that anybody's going to listen to the end, right?
Yeah. Let's come back with a sign off next week. How about that?
Okay. All right.
Unless you have one that's coming to mind, Scott.
No, I don't. Cha-ching. I don't know.
Okay. Fuck. We're done.
We are done.
And there you have it. You might be feeling dumber for having spent the last hour with us, and quite frankly, you might be right. We'll see you next time.